Hey, community, Aubrey here with DevCentral, and I'm joined today by Sashin from iNextLabs. How you doing, Sashin?
I'm doing great, Aubrey. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. It's neat having the coordination between myself on the east coast of the United States and Asia. It's always kind of a challenge. Like we were just saying, you are missing breakfast, which got to get breakfast after this, and I just had dinner. So always fun to kind of have conversations like that around the world. But we're here to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence tonight. Or today, if you will. So you work with a company called iNextLabs. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and then give me a little bit about iNextLabs? Like what do you do for them and what's kind of the business model for iNextLabs?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the co-founder of iNextLabs. It's a four-year-old company focusing on building generative AI applications. It's a Singapore-based company with offices around the world. We have offices in Malaysia, India, US, and in the Middle East as well. Right. So the company focuses on building Gen AI solutions. Um, for different verticals from BFSI, telco, government, healthcare, building complex, use cases on the Gen AI.
Okay. Now, are you the type of shop that is able to go in and say, do your customers usually give you like, I want to work with this particular model, or do you also have to do kind of some of that sort of the customer doesn't know, and you have to maybe give them an example of, well, this looks like the perfect job for Mixtral instead of something like GPT 4.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
Is it a little prescriptive?
it's more of consulting. Yeah, so I mean, iNext Labs, does the consulting approach. Most often customers do not know what they want in terms of what AI, can do for them. They come up with a business problem. The consultants go do a discovery workshop, bring all the stakeholders, understand, the pain points they're trying to solve, and come with a proposed solution. And often that includes, what model, they should be kind of, looking at. Then working with the IT operations team, within the organizations to ensure, these models are kind of like, allowed, in the organization. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that's cool. I imagine that's got to be a very fun business to be involved in right now with the generative AI explosion happening. I'm sure you have a lot of really neat conversations with people on a day-to-day basis.
No,
Um,
absolutely. The company was started in 2021, just before the Gen AI. So we have seen, the pre-Gen AI, then as a Gen AI, Chat GPT, and all those, coming up, and now, the kind of rush that we're seeing organizations having to have, Gen AI deployed, very fast, right? So
it's amazing. Just a couple of years back, we had Will Smith eating spaghetti. I don't know if you've seen that video, and now now the kinds of things that can be generated by AI as far as video is concerned, it's going to put me out of a job within the next year or two, I'm sure. With the kinds of ways that it can provide video and even voice in ways that we just didn't have that possible 2 years ago. So, but not everyone is generating crazy images and things like that. What is it that your customers like? What do you see customers doing for the most part with artificial intelligence? Not everybody is building massive agentic applications today. What's kind of the majority that you sort of see, or is it really a mixed bag?
it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, like, people in the initial, I mean, like, a year ago, were happy with AI that, helps them engage customers, engage users, answering questions, simple queries, what we say, like, the kind of a simple rack systems where the expectations, and people were happy, with it. But now, they start to expect, these AI to be more intelligent just than, answering, queries, right? So they are kind of like, moving into an agentic. That's what we see, especially in these big organizations. They have um, kind of like, a complex, use cases that they want to, solve, to increase the productivity, save a cost, as whole.
That's interesting, and I guess so. There is a little bit of agentic stuff that you're seeing happening as well. Is that what I heard? Because it seemed to me that at first it seemed as though people were, just building a chat bot for their application. They have maybe a model that is, just involved in doing the language portion of things. But that quickly evolved in no time. I mean, I'm sure you saw it with RAG, especially, like, oh, well, we need this embedding model and we need this vector database and we have to have much more in the way of things that add into that experience. And now, I mean, you look at agents, things like Operator, for goodness sake. I don't know if you've seen Operator, but that is a heck of a thing. I was I talked I talked with GPT 4.5 the other day and asked it what it felt about Operator and how it felt that Operator would help it to help me more. And it was a pretty amazing conversation, hearing it talk about Operator as though it were, kind of a separate entity. Like, well, this is another agent and it's going to help me out by doing the point and click stuff, but I'll do much more of the thinking and talking kind of stuff. Fascinating. Are you seeing that sort
Yeah,
of?
I mean, talking about Operator, yes, so we have a project that's currently going on, replacing, using Operator, and quite similar to Operator, not exactly Operator, for a hospital, replacing their current RPAs, right? And Gen AI does a fantastic job, compared to the RPAs, right? But talk about the agentic thing, I can give an example, Aubrey. So a financial institute approached us to build a rack system, to be able to allow their users to search through the contracts, search through agreements they have, and they have this huge library. I wouldn't say massive, but it's a huge library, like with a few hundred documents coming from different teams, different departments, you can say. Users should be able to search through these contracts. Especially helps people who are new to the bank to look for certain things. Hey, for example, if the applicant is a citizen looking to buy a particular property type, et cetera, et cetera, given the conditions, what would be, let's say, for example, the maximum duration loan tenure allowed, or what would be the interest rate that the bank can provide. So the initial ask was to provide this. They should be able to do this intelligent search, right? So we bring in this documents, we vectorize it, we keep it in a vector database, and allow people to search through it. Fantastic. But just within 3 months, they came back to us and said, like, look, this is good, but what we find is sometimes the users are not asking the right questions they're supposed to ask, and still we're seeing that kind of gaps. So can the AI automatically, after the contract is drafted, take that contract, read through it, and check whether all the conditions, whatever, right, has been drafted, is within the the bank. So the other way around, now the AI not just helps find the answer, but also does the auditing part. The
Cool.
AI audits the contract and finds, hey, look, there is a gap here. This is a kind of a mistake. It shouldn't have been here, or this particular point should be added. So the expectation kind of goes from very simple, and we tell customers, look, this is a kind of a journey, right?
That's amazing. I mean, but once the AI has seen, 100 or 100,000, of a particular kind of document, it tends to understand what is expected. So it is kind of neat watching that happen. And I've thought about doing a similar kind of thing with one of the one of the things that I do with these podcasts. I have all these I have all these transcripts, right, from the videos that I do. And I've sort of thought about maybe trying to vectorize all of that. And so that, my particular bot that I like working with would have a good understanding of what, what I've already seen and could maybe pull up particular quotes or tell me when I said something like it, and endless stuff. I think it's neat, the use cases. So the use cases are endless, but we also find that uh that seemingly the threats are also pretty endless. So what kinds of things are you seeing out there? Have you seen some of the LLM apps top 10 out in the wild at all, or are there things that your customers are most concerned about? I mean, I'm sure prompt injection is like everyone says, boy, I got to be protected from that. But are there things that you are actually seeing outside of just your typical prompt injection type stuff?
Yeah, actually, very much. See, as there is a rush in implementing AI, and and the speed that the technology is kind of evolving, and we make the same mistake like in the past. We always think security as an afterthought, right?
Yeah.
And so most organizations make this mistake when we work with the large enterprises. The concern of obviously like how we can prevent hallucinations, right? How we can prevent prompt injections, data poisoning. These are some of those things that comes up. So the challenge that we have had in the past is other than like creating that awareness within the business folks. The security folks understand their but most organizations, it's getting better, but in the early days there weren't a dedicated team for AI security. It was often the application security team, or the traditional security, which looks at network security, ARM security and other things, but not on the AI. They weren't like so much exposed to the AI kind of things, right? Now we start to see that's getting better, but still like many organizations lack like what we call red teaming, right?
Yeah.
So we do the red teaming. We work with them to do it. So creating the awareness is one thing, and also on the data side, right? So people have take the data for granted. They kind of put everything into the AI and expect AI to do kind of magical stuff, right? So it's creating that awareness is first thing, and then also what do you call, like we do a lot of testing and validations before we deploy and hand it over to the customer.
Awesome. Awesome. I like that. That's good. There are too many people out there that are just downloading models off a Hugging Face and applying them. Like, hey, let's just go use this. No testing or no validation, nothing like that. I was working with actually a red teamer that I know pretty well, a guy by the name of Ads Dawson, and he was showing me a utility called Diana. It's got a Y. It's an open source utility that is meant to be a model sandbox. So like that, to me, that was kind of a fascinating thing thinking about that. Well, boy, I shouldn't just download something off Hugging Face and put it to use. I really probably ought to see if anyone's done anything nefarious with that, or if they're trying to load any like drivers or anything like that on my machine, or what's really happening with this package when I download it.
Yeah, it's just like the apps, that we have in the app stores in the early days. Like, you get like thousands of apps, being added, to the app stores or play stores. So we just see the same thing, like, if not thousands, like, hundreds of models being kind of like, added. I think there are, I don't know, like 4,000, 5,000 models already,
Man,
available. And, many keep, coming. So what we do is, before we take any particular model, there are situations where we need to choose models other than the OpenAI, Anthropic, or Llama models, mostly for regional purposes. So we have some use cases, let's say in India, right, where we need to support the Indian languages, and these languages are supported better from the regional models that are created with the support of Indian government, for example, right? So when we go use those models, the first priority is to validate how good the guardrails are. And we are part of the AI Verify Foundation. If it's part of, it's an organization of Singapore's IMDA, the Infocom Media organization. So, and they have a toolkit called the Moonshot, Project Moonshot. So we use that, and other tools, just for a quick validation of these models. Do they have the basic guardrails in there? If yes, we take that. If not, we don't use those models.
cool. That's good, because I mean that's one of those simple things. Like you could download a model that's just had all the stuff turned off, and people don't think about it. Okay.
Yep.
Well,
Mhm.
I mean that is good. It sounds like it sounds like you are encountering quite a few of those threats out there that we talk about in the LLM apps top 10 at OWASP. And to me that's pretty fascinating. One of those technologies that of course has come up has been AI gateways to help deal with some of those threats. And F5 also recently released an AI gateway of their own. My understanding is you've been working with that a little bit, and I was curious to know how how you're working with AI gateway today to try and service some of these customer needs.
Yeah. So we looked at AI gateway. So prior to that, prior to F5 releasing the AI gateway, we were kind of like scrambling in a few open source engines, to do all to handle all the security aspects, and that's when we were like introduced to AI gateway, and we love that because we could handle the security. We know that if I can take care of all those things, so we don't have to have teams. We can afford to have teams building those things for us, like, so we would rather use the AI gateway. So where we use AI gateway is there's a couple of scenarios. One is on the kind of like prompt injection detection, right? We simulate prompt injections using AI gateway, and that's one of the evaluation metrics that we set up with the users, right? In addition to other things like accuracy rates, performance, etc. So one of this is like, hey, this is we have tested with prompt injection, so we use that, and we use AI verify foundation on top of that to ensure that now F5 catches all the prompt injections, right? So that's one. And going back to that example that I was giving about those contracts, so some of those contracts are very sensitive, that the information, the personal information of the users cannot be revealed to users, only to certain authorized users, right? Other users shouldn't be able to see that. We see that kind of use cases, many use cases, especially in government and BFSI, and to some extent even in the healthcare, right?
Yeah,
Um, like loan processing, for example, it contains very sensitive information, so the PII data shouldn't be exposed. But often we do a dev test. We have to simulate. We use simulated data, but when we go to the UAT, we need the real data so we can check the accuracy of these applications. So that's where we use the AI gateway to do the PII detection and reduction, right?
nice.
Yeah. And another area that we are exposing with the AI gateway is able to kind of route different requests to different models, right? Depending on the nature of the query that we have. So there's a couple of areas that we are that we have already started using AI. We recommend this. We use this internally within our systems. Where we use the SaaS, and as well as for we take it to customers the enterprise, where we deploy on their cloud or on premises.
Cool. Okay. It sounds like you're doing some really great stuff with it. Well, that's I mean it's fascinating. I'm happy to hear that there are people out there that are focused on AI applications and that are really, promoting red teaming and good security practices. That's something that we always need to do, for any application, especially modern applications. And for me, from my perspective, with the threat surface landscape provided by AI applications, we really need good security practices for these most of modern applications.
But that's what we tell our companies. We understand the that they need to deploy this quickly, but these things like the data handling or the security shouldn't be an afterthought.
Agreed 100%. Well, I, that's what I have this evening. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, Sashin. I appreciate it. I know it's early, and I got some valuable data about this.
Oh, you're most welcome, Aubrey. It was great having this conversation, right? We
Awesome.
look forward to working more with FI.
Likewise, and thank you, community. Appreciate you tuning in. Look for this and all kinds of great AI information coming from DevCentral, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you.